a teacher who labels himself a lifelong student, a cattle industry expert who's mastered the art of motivating people to their highest potential. This is Larry Corah.
Well, I grew up in a family situation where both my parents basically had just a grade school education. So from the time that I can remember, I was always told I was going to college, and so my challenge is what was I going to major in, what was I going to do? And I actually started out on the engineering side. I realized pretty quickly when I went to my first drawing class that I had zero aptitude to be a construction engineer, and I better get into something that maybe I enjoyed or could relate to. And so agriculture became that, and it was fortunate in that once I got into agriculture, then my college careers kind of blossomed and grew from there.
From North Dakota and Michigan to Australia and Wyoming, Larry gathered up experience in meats, beef reproduction, and cattle feeding before settling in Kansas. But it was on his family's diversified farm near Park River, North Dakota, that he first developed his curiosity. There, his father worked very closely with Extension.
And that was really your source of new information. So I always recall the county agent being out there saying, hey, would you consider doing a variety plot, or we would like to do some demonstrations on a new product that's just coming in. So it seemed we were always trying to do something, and even as a youngster you got involved.
Thinking like a cattleman, but ever a scientist, Larry used that background to author and promote research that would help those all across the country improve their herds.
I always felt going to a meeting, maybe I would learn as much as they would learn from me just by getting the questions they had asked or visiting with them before or after meetings and finding out what was going on in the industry and what needed to be focused on, both from standpoint of presentations, but also then identifying research projects. What are research projects that could be done? And one of the things that I did a lot of at K-State and really enjoyed doing was what we call field trials, where we go out to the farm and actually do field research. And the producers, I found, really enjoy being a part of that, but also then you generate data that can be communicated to producers all over the state, but all over the United States as well.
While Larry was growing in his role as researcher and educator, the U.S. cattle feeding business was growing too.
The fact that we put cattle on feed for 100 to 150 days of a high concentrate diet creates that really intense flavor profile that really has established beef, the U.S. beef product, as not only something that the U.S. consuming public wants to have, but also globally it positions us. And so the feedlot industry has played an extremely important role, and fortunately, I was fortunate to be involved in some of the early formation of that industry. It's not that old an industry really. In the last 50 to 60 years, most of the feeding industry in the United States developed, and the chance to work with it, kind of everything from its infancy to where it's at today, the feedlot industry just has such a critical importance to the total beef industry. So whether it was in the position with certified Angus beef or even before that at Kansas State, that's an industry that I've always enjoyed being a part of and working with.
And he's seen a lot of change in that time, including more coordination between all segments in the beef community and a distinct focus on the consumer.
I think the thing that's amazed me as an industry is how dramatically we've changed cattle. We've changed everything from both the breed side or color of the cattle, but also the size and the growth capacity. I mean, the capacity of cattle to grow today is absolutely remarkable. Their ability to convert feed and be much more efficient. But then also in that period of evolving, we have not forgotten about the carcass quality. The fact that today nearly 70% of the cattle grade choice and prime is absolutely phenomenal. The fact that on certified Angus beef acceptance rates, we years ago set a target at 30% and thought that's just unachievable, and now we're seeing weeks and months where we're actually achieving 30% acceptance rates. So the fact that we're producing as high a quality product as we are in the industry, but also change cattle type to accomplish that.
Larry envisions a beef community that recognizes that everyone's in it together. He says the only way to bring more profitability for ranchers, stockers, feeders, and packers is to first deliver a product that is consistently exceptional.
I think we have a fairly archaic way, in many ways, the way price is currently bid, But some of that is even evolving in the sense that we're seeing a lot more formula or grids being used by various feedlots. And though that creates some challenges for the industry, it's evolving into the fact that animals are priced based on their individual merit. When you hang them on a rail, it really makes management practices like sorting and just managing cattle for a targeted endpoint. And so I think you're going to start to see the individual cattle management lead to what I'll call more supply chain, focused supply chains, where feedlots will really target a lot of their production towards a certain supply chain.
Larry's impacts are far-reaching and varied, completing some of the earliest work on fetal programming, implementing a hands-on internship program, building communication strategy to help producers learn about it all. He was one of the original visionaries that came together to develop the Feeding Quality Forum, now in its 11th year. But his greatest accomplishment may be those he's built up.
So if I look back career-wise, what I probably have enjoyed the most is the opportunity to not only hire people, but then try to help them be successful in their careers. And in the process, not only it's fun to watch their personal achievements, but then the benefits they've had to the organizations or companies they're a part of.
The list is deep in both number and quality, including professionals like Missouri's Dave Patterson, Iowa's Darrell Busby, and Mitch Blanding of Zoetis.
I would hope that they would say that in some small way I impacted their life and their career, and to me that would have tremendous meaning.